Welcome back from the 45 minutes in Bombo, and Vipers are currently leading the game by 1-0. The goal coming in from Livingstone Molondo separates the two sides at halftime. We did have an interval at the 30th minute. Some heavy rains did stop the play, but we did manage to resume after the 15 minutes, and it looks like UPDF were probably putting up some good performance in the 15 minutes. Tendo, your thoughts on the 45 minutes? Of course, we did have a moment where UPDF came back a different side probably and put up a good show in those 15 minutes.
Yeah, we are in December, but it seems every side now has tested on the El Nino blessings. You might call rain a blessing, but for football, it's really a blessing in disguise. And you think that this game has gone way beyond what we had projected before the game started, and everything else goes now to invention and how a player is prepared to actually use the plan B variety of his game. And I think UPDF is more conversant with that. Of course, the strength now, the balance of power has a little bit shifted, and Vipers now, all they have to do is try to play on the break. Initially, they had brought a 3-4-3 formation, and we were asking ourselves who is going to play on the right back and all that. With three men in the back, it was Torach on the right, then Richard Matovu on the left, and then Mulondo as the center man. And of course, because UPDF doesn't have many forwards, it was easy for them to maneuver. But the challenge was always in the middle, where that meant that Abdul Umara was on the right, then Milton Karisa was on the left, then Brighton Ukani, and then Watambala, yes. Plus, of course, Siraje Sentamu in the middle. That shifts to be a 3-5-2 formation. Now, the two players up front were Kambale and Yunus Sentamu. But we all know Yunus Sentamu plays off the wings and all that. So he left Kambale isolated in the middle, and he went patrolling everywhere, trying to create chances. Of course, it looked like an easier formation for them, but he didn't have balance on the left and on the right. Why? In case UPDF was going back, Lumala was not going back to defend, and you wouldn't expect Milton Karisa to defend perfectly on the left. Fortunately for them, they got a lucky break and they got that goal where a corner kick after a Yunus Sentamu run attracted the complacence of the back line, and Livingstone Molondo was left alone to touch the ball inside. That was a very, very, very hard thing. Then the situation was that one.
The cancelled goal. I mean, I'm asking a question as to why or how it was cancelled, because you could see the reactions from both players, from both teams.
They would have been two ahead, but technically you have to dig deep to find out how that goal was offside. First of all, the initial shot from Richard Matovu hits a defender's leg and deflects off the crossbar, and the ball comes back. Now, in the deflection of the crossbar, everybody now starts being offside. So when Kambale heads the ball, him and Milton Karisa had chased the ball to feed on the crumbs. Karisa went on the right, Kambale went on the left. So when Kambale nods the ball back, the goalkeeper makes a save. But it finds Milton Karisa, who doesn't do any problem on the goalkeeper. But I think at that moment, the assistant referee thinks that Milton Karisa is offside. Now that is where the challenge is. Both players would have been offside, Milton Karisa and Kambale. Yeah, because when Kambale heads the ball, the ball comes back now off the goalkeeper. You get it? So it cannot be offside in that situation. So it was a close call there, and you would think that the assistant referee had that. Of course, then upon restart of the break, so many things have happened, including that foul on Ezekiel Katende, which the referee left for advantage, and the ball hits a Vipers defender. So probably the referee thought that was a good block for the advantage, and a chance taken and defended. That is why he didn't call back the free kick. If the player had left the advantage not to work and not shot the ball at goal, probably that would have been a foul on Ezekiel Katende, and that is where everyone went animated. Normally when the referee allows advantage, where does a team be counted to have failed to take the advantage?
Because in that foul, it was a foul that was outside the box.
Yes.
And it looked like it was a clear foul.
Yeah, it was a clear foul.
But there was a player that decided to take another shot.
Taking a shot, so the referee leaves the advantage.
Yes.
And now in taking the shot, if you are a defender, you cannot let the shot go in because they have an advantage. You have to defend. Yes. So, and it was a perfect shot. He had a clear view of it, and then the defender defended it very well with his body. So, does the referee call back the advantage? So, a tactical player would not have taken that shot perfectly to leave the advantage. And they have benefited from that. So that is where the animation started. Right. So many players thinking he would have called back and taken the foul. But in those situations, the referee is also spoiled for choice. Then in the run-up to the counter-attack for Vipers, as Brighton Ukan is hitting the ball, a UPDF player sticks in a leg and Brighton Ukan hits the leg. Now, the referees always have that balancing action. That would have been a foul for Vipers.
It would have been a penalty?
A foul, no, the one where Anukani, but he gave the foul to UPDF. So I think he realized that the first situation would have been the one. So he chose to give them this one. But this one was a little far away. That is where they got animated. And that was not actually an Anukani fault because the player sticks in a leg when he's passing the ball forward. Right. So that is where the small confusion comes in.
Tendo, there's been so much to talk about in the first half, and one thing that you can probably point out is that Vipers are struggling to find that balance, particularly on the right-hand side or on the left-hand side where they're trying to defend with wing-backs today. And probably one of the players that could be playing as a wing-back is Richard Matovu. He's playing as a centre-back in the back three. How do they find that balance going into second half? Because you've said they need to capitalize on their counter-attacks now that they are falling in behind with so many attacks and so much pressure from UPDF.
The challenge they have now is that they cannot play their ball game. The pitch today was good, the UPDF pitch, before the rains came. But after the rains, now it's a different thing. And you see that UPDF now are used and piling more pressure. They have realized where the imbalance is and they are stretching the pitch out wide. Tebandeke on the left. And then Bernard Mwanga is not actually standing as a right back there because he's one of the three also. But he peels there and brings shots or crosses like a fullback. And then Kawagu is also there trying to pile pressure.
This is the foul.
Yeah, that is the foul. It would have been a foul, yes. But then the advantage there, is taken.
And it could have been.
And now where the shot fails, probably that is where the referee would have called it back. But the question is, would you have let the shot go in because it's advantage if you're Vipers defender?
Tendo, I think Mulondo would be very lucky there to walk out without a yellow card.
Yeah, he was lucky because the referee left advantage. But he didn't actually put the leg up so much. He just slid in that condition and failed to find the man, you see. It wasn't an intentional foul. He was trying to block and the dribble had damaged and went the other side. So it's not necessarily a foul where a boot is raised, but that is where the advantage fails, and you think the referee would have called it back in the aspect of a UPDF angle. Yes. But again, it was good defending there by the defender who actually pivoted to come and cover Mulondo because that shot was goal bound.
As you can see, actually, Tendo, as the build up to this potential foul that was played advantage, you could see that there is so much space on the right-hand side that possibly Lumala would have been defending, but you could see clearly that there is a delay for him to come back in this moment here. Yeah, the problems that they need to fix in the second half.
Is the imbalance in the 3-4-3 formation. Eventually, they have made it 3-5-2, but it's not a typical 3-5-2 because a typical 3-5-2 would have wing backs. Right. Now, Lumala is not a wing back. Just like Milton Kalisa is not a left wing back. Right. So the imbalance is there and they always work as forwards. So once they are working as forwards, there's always that predicament for them coming back to cover. They come back in the middle and the players that they have to mark on the wings. So that is where the imbalance is. But when they came back, they tried to shift it by having Karisa coming on the right, and then Watambala actually switching sides, going on the left. That is where they put in more pressure. Now, when Watambala goes on the side, then they abandon the forward two and have Yunus Sentamu dropping as the 10 to try and balance. Then it leaves Anukani now to drop into the defensive position where Watambala was together with Siraje Sentamu. Yes. Siraje Sentamu has now dropped deep to create the first triangle in front of the three at the back. So the transition is not going to work very perfectly, but I think they have chosen to abandon it because the middle is already waterlogged. So they want to make quicker breaks in the wings and try to have a release of Kambale, who happens to be now on fire. He has kind of regained his fitness. You see the way he's chasing is not the usual Kambale that we used to know.
He did have a couple of chances in the first half, including that header that sort of skid off his head and it just went wide post. As a player like Kambale, how do they now bring him more into the game? Of course, now you're talking about them playing on the counter-attack and UPDF now are probably going to be taking more numbers up front for trying to get that equalizer in the second half.
Definitely, with the game at 1-0, you think UPDF have a chance, and they're also thinking the same way. They're piling pressure. So what Vipers has to do is to perfect the counter-attack. First of all, create the balance in the wing-back situations.
Do you think they should go to a back four? Or should they stick
they might go to a back four or actually retain a back three, but have real wingers in that position. That is where I think probably either Lumala or Milton Karisa can be rested. Milton, not because he's not working very well, but remember, he's one of the most tired Vipers players. Right. So he could deserve a rest in these conditions and have probably Ashraf Mandela coming on the right.
There's Ashraf Mandela, there is the likes of, I don't know, Kelo, Martin Kiza is on the bench as well. Some of these players could probably be coming onto the bench. Even Rodrigue Shamamba is on the bench as well.
Yeah, Shamamba, those are all forwards. The situation now is to tactically create the wing-back situation to stop the threat that UPDF is having. Christopher Tebandeke is bringing in crosses, and Muanga is also bringing in crosses. Remember, he's one of the three centre-backs, but because there is no pressure now that Yunus has dropped, he's now moving to the right-back situation and pushing Kamagu deep into the full winger on the right. So he crosses the balls halfway and drops them where UPDF can get advantage. So the antithesis to that is get the second striker to embarrass the two, Vuni and Agre Chiria. Already Chiria has a card and Vuni went off briefly injured. So you think they are on wobbly legs. So if you create a two-pronged attack, one of them has to come back, and that is Bernard Muanga. So you would have killed the situation on the right. Then have a full wing back like Ashraf Mandela, tussle it out with Tebandeke. Then play your ball because you have the advantage. UPDF will always look for ways of equalizing, and the ways have been through those long balls. So if you have a right wing back, a really fledged right wing back like Ashraf Mandela, handle Tebandeke, then have a forward pull back Muanga. Because you cannot have any of those players. If you put Watambala to mark him, you are decimating the middle. Because Anukani cannot be as physical as Watambala in helping Siraji Sentamu. Fortunate enough, they haven't gotten any booking, Vipers. So they have to force where UPDF has a weakness. They have cut wires and gotten some cards. Agre Chiria is prone now to another card, which would be a sent-off if he does what? If he commits another foul. And in committing those fouls, you have to put pressure on them going forward. So I think the ideal substitution would be a wing back on the right and then another forward to balance, and probably either Lumala or Milton Karisa. But I'm thinking Lumala could be the one that can be released.
Do you see UPDF getting a goal?
They can. I anticipated 2 goals. Already one has come. Vipers could add on a cushion goal, but if they relax and don't sort that imbalance, UPDF can come back.
All right, let us hand you over to Lawrence Bwanika for commentary of the second half between UPDF Football Club and Vipers Sports Club. Vipers leading by 1-0.